Blogger?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Only put me on there if I'm saying good things.
Hi, Governor. My name's Jeremy Everett.
Thank you very, very much to the T-Birds Vote. Thank you for hosting our event here. And the representative told me when I'm done introducing you, you get up on top of the heart, and that's where you speak from. And I said, yes, ma'am. So, it's great to be with all of you. Thanks for taking the time to be here. I am on my way to the Wing Ding. Have any of you ever been to the Wing Ding?
Ah.
A couple of you have been to the Wing Ding. I've never been to the Wing Ding, but I'm looking forward to going. I understand the cheers are already going on in the place. I'm going to see the Venerable Berkeley Bedell there, who's been a terrific friend and very encouraging of me in every way. So let me thank you for what you do for our whole country. And what I mean by that is this. In a time when it seems like big money has just become so very all-pervasive in our national politics, the people of Iowa are the defense against that encroachment. And all of you make sure through your caucus process that the individual person matters, that individual people matter. And corporations are not people, but the people of Iowa are the people that will go out to their caucuses and will make the decision that informs the rest of the country after you've had an opportunity to see each of us 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 times, right? And I'm learning this because I've run into some of your neighbors who say, it's my 3rd time seeing you. I'm seeing a lot of growth. Keep doing what you're doing. I'm going to see the other ones as many times as I can, and then I'll let you know what my decision is several months from now. So that's all fine and good. And to those of you who have run before and were defeated and run again, thank you for being candidates. And true story I will share with you, my first race for office, I ran against not any city senator, but the chair of the city senators. And my girlfriend at the time, now my wife, said to me, that guy's going to beat you like a drum. But instead, I threw myself into it, knocked on thousands of doors, started off with zippity-doo-dah name recognition, but by the end, we fell just 20 votes short, they say. Oh. Not that I think about those 20 votes. 20 votes short on the absentee ballots. But then the next year, a seat opened up on the Baltimore City Council, and I was able to serve in other ways. So look, let me share a couple of remarks with you, a couple of thoughts, and then we'll open it up to questions and answers. And by golly, if you have answers, I am on a search for answers. Yeah. So, you and I are part of a living, self-creating mystery called the United States of America. But the promise at the heart of that mystery is no abstraction. It is not some fanciful idea. It is the very concrete promise and covenant we share to extend family leave to more people rather than fewer, because we want women to be able to participate more fully in the economic life of our country. We passed a state version of Lilly Ledbetter. We raised to the highest levels of any state in the nation our minority and women business participation goals, and in the middle of a recession, we actually exceeded them. And along the way, not only did we repeal the death penalty, not the first or second time, but the 3rd time trying, and with, I might add, some Republican votes, God bless them, but we also passed the DREAM Act in Maryland, driver's licenses for new American immigrants, and we passed marriage equality, and we defended all of those things at the ballot. These are the things that move our country. We defended not only a AAA bond rating, but also the highest median income all through that recession. Now, what does that have to do with the here and now? I believe it has a lot to do with the here and now, because our country is once again in need of new leadership. We need to have the courage in one another and the faith in our ideals to forge a new consensus for progress. My daughter, my oldest daughter, is with me in Iowa today. I have 2 girls, 2 boys. Rich people couldn't do better. My wife is a judge of the District Court of Maryland, which means that I never win any arguments at home, not that I am, that I am frequently overruled. But my oldest daughter, Grace, is with me campaigning today. She and her little brother, William, who's 17, were at the state fair yesterday. But 60 days ago, after her father announced for President of the United States at home in Baltimore, land of the free and home of the brave, little girl came up to her at Walter P. Carter Elementary School, where she teaches first grade, and tugged her on the wrist and said, "Miss O'Malley, I'm not so sure about this idea of your father running for president, because quite frankly, I kind of like Barack Obama." Well, a lot of us like Barack Obama. When we were this close to being plunged into a second Great Depression, President Obama stepped up. We elected a new leader. He made tough decisions, none of them singularly popular. But now, here's the good news, folks. As a nation, for 65 months in a row, we have every month created more jobs than we lost. 65 months in a row. And that is the good news. But the hard truth of our times is this. 70% of us today are earning the same or less than we were 12 years ago. And that is not how the American dream is supposed to work. That's not how our economy is supposed to work. That's not how our country is supposed to work. Over the longer arc of 30 years, we followed that trickle-down theory of economics, and sometimes we're complicit ourselves as a party in practicing trickle-down light. The basic theories of which were concentrate wealth at the top, remove regulation everywhere you can, and keep wages low so we can somehow be more competitive, whatever the heck that meant. Didn't lead to that cloudburst of jobs and opportunity. Instead, it led us to such a concentration of wealth that it is literally sucking opportunity out of the homes, the wallets, and the neighborhoods of the many. And when any nation reaches this point in her history, there's only two paths forward, and only one of them is good. One is a sensible rebalancing based on the common good we share, and a remaking of our economy so it works again for all of us. The other option, and the other path, is pitchforks, or stones, or rocks. More of them in the homes of, in the hands rather, of more and more unemployed and desperate young men who feel that they're not needed in their own country. I vote for a sensible rebalancing, and I'm guessing you do as well. And the good news is this: we need only return to our true selves. And remember as Americans that our economy is not money. Our economy is people. It is all of our people. And so yes, we must raise the minimum wage and raise it to $15 an hour however we can, wherever we can. We must pay overtime pay for overtime work. We must advance paid family leave so women can participate fully in the economic life of our country. We need to make it easier and not harder for people to join labor unions and bargain collectively for better wages. And you want wages to go up rather than down? How about this one? Let's get 11 million of our neighbors out of the underground shadow off the books economy by passing comprehensive immigration reform. Inevitable frontrunners is always inevitable right up until your decision. Questions or answers? Yes, sir.
Two questions, if I could. One, what do you think about the Social Security going broke? I don't really believe it. They've been telling us that for 30 years. But do you have a plan for that? And also the high cost of prescription drugs. You know, even middle-class families, if they're on a really high-priced pill, they go bankrupt. Let alone, you know, the wealthy or the rest of us can't. Is there any way to deal with that?
Yeah, great couple of questions, and I think you all heard them in the back, right? Social Security. Any of you see the Republican debate the other night?
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit of it.
What a good spot.
Anybody want to admit to watching the whole thing? One or two. Okay, there you go. Long-suffering, good citizens. There was a lot of talk in that debate about, and a lot of unkind language towards immigrants and towards women, and capping Social Security and undermining it. Our party, if we ever get around to having debates, which I think we need to start having like last month, one of the issues that distinguishes us from that whole other crowd is the need to expand Social Security and to be willing to pay for it. Used to be that we were all lectured in my younger days, the key to a secure retirement is a three-legged stool, right? Your pension, your personal savings, and Social Security. Well, after what's happened to our economy, that still has one leg for a lot of people. So I believe we need to strengthen and expand Social Security, raise the cap at a certain point in order to pay for it. And in fact, actually, another thing that extends the solvency of Social Security is passing comprehensive immigration reform, so that new American immigrants, many times working off the books, pay more into Social Security. On the prescription drug issue, I think we need to find a better way, and I don't know exactly what the solution is, but I talked to somebody the other day who had some ideas. Traditionally, we have given exclusive patents to drug companies when they develop a new cure so that they can recoup their R&D. And I think probably there's a more humane and a better way to allow a reasonable rate of return on those investments than what we've done now. It also, I think we need to find some way, and I don't know the answer, maybe one of you here has an idea, but somehow we have to find a way to allow the drug companies to recoup their business expenses without gouging all of us or putting people's lives on the line if they can't afford to pay their medicine, or making people choose between whether a family member goes without or whether they lose their home. And I think there's got to be a better way to allow a rate of return for a longer period of time in exchange for lower prices.
Thank you.
Yes, Representative.
Governor, thank you for being here,
Thank
and
you.
I'm really honored to be here just to hear what your platform is and what the issues you stand on. And you mentioned mass incarceration, which is extremely important to my people, the African Americans in not only the state of Iowa but the country. I just wanted you to, if you could get a little more specific on some of the strategies that you might employ as president, and maybe, I don't know, some of the things that you've seen or have done as governor in Maryland.
Awesome, thank you. We just came out and I unveiled at the Urban League in Fort Lauderdale last week an agenda for criminal justice reform in our nation. There is no candidate in either party who has tended more on a daily basis to the heart of this wound we share as Americans around race, law enforcement, and violence than I have. When I ran for mayor of Baltimore in 1999, it was not because things were going well. It was because we were burying every year more than 300 young men, mostly young and poor and black, than any other, than most, at a higher rate than any other place in America. We put our city on a path to achieve the biggest reduction in Part 1 crime, and over 15 years of executive service, we spared about 1,000 young black men from having to die violent deaths. And there's no such thing in our country as a spare American, and that was our rallying cry then. In the course of that service, I've discovered, I've constantly been looking for the things that work so that we can do more of them, and the things that don't so we can do less of them. One extreme of something that doesn't work and is expensive and can't be fairly applied and has no deterrent value is the death penalty. So we stopped doing that. Another thing that wasn't working and had no deterrent value was supervising everybody on parole and probation so much that we supervised nobody at all. And oftentimes made it harder for people to go to work and do what they need to do. And so we created some good time credit on parole and probation and those sorts of things. We also increased our efforts on reentry. And simple things that we just don't do, like making sure somebody has an ID card before they're discharged from prison after serving their sentence, so they can actually get services and land on their feet. Doing mediation with estranged family members before inmates are released so they have some place to land. These are the things that make a difference, and in the recession, though it would have been politically easy, I did not cut but instead increased drug treatment funding, education, and other training skills inside our prisons. And yes, ma'am?
And was mandatory sentencing an issue in your state at all?
It's not so.
And what's your take on?
Yeah, we have some mandatories when it comes to handgun violence, but over 50% of looking at these numbers, over 50% of those in federal prison serving sentences are there for drug crimes. Over 50% in states are serving for crimes of violence. So in this agenda, though, I do advocate doing away with those sort of sentencing things on crack cocaine versus powder cocaine and the 18-to-1 sort of difference on that. I advocate doing away with mandatory minimums on lower level drug possession cases, As governor, I repealed, not repealed, as governor, I signed legislation to restore voting rights to 52,000 people who have old felony convictions. We also participation, right, in the economic, social, and political life of our nation. We also decriminalized possession of small amounts of marijuana. And there were also some things in this plan, I'm going on too long now, you can check it out at martino'malley.com. We were going to put it under michaeldukakis.com, but we thought that so it's on martino'malley.com. But part of it is also about how we police the police, requiring that all departments report, as they do now, murder, rape, robbery, and other crimes, to report discourtesy, excessive force, lethal use of force, custodial deaths, so we know whether we're doing any better than we were before. There's a bunch of other stuff in it as well. It was greeted as the most comprehensive criminal justice reform agenda of any candidate, and I think my experience serves this issue. Well, look, I got to get up the road, but let me leave you with this final plea. Who is our organizer here? Is it Alec? Eric.
Here as well.
Who?
Ben.
Ben, come on over, Ben. If Ben doesn't get at least 10 people to sign up in his area to caucus for O'Malley, he cries himself to sleep. Don't let Ben cry himself to sleep. We need your help, and I'd love to stay in touch with you as you make up your decision. And I thank you so very, very much for what you do for our country and for coming out today to listen to me. Thanks a lot.